Good morning, everyone. Welcome again to Sunrise Daily today. I'm Chamberlain. So,
hope you had a good night rest. I'm Akin. Good morning and welcome.
And from Abuja, good morning. The sun has risen beautifully here. I'm Maokbe Ogunyusuf.
Each time you say that, Maokbe, you know you are calling for the rain, so please be careful.
Is that the way it works? All right. Well. What do you know? The papers are awash. But interestingly, some of the incidents that played out yesterday, wow, boy, just so many of them. I mean, the protest was big, heavy on in the news, as a matter of fact, and then you have security. So some interesting developments out there.
Almost certainly. When you talk about the protest, you're talking about, of course, Kaduna, expectedly. There have been so many reactions to that one. Of course, hopefully we'll be getting into that. You know, a number of governors already speaking, a number of prominent Nigerians already speaking, opposition party also speaking. All of that is going on. Ultimately, the only thing we want, of course, is a resolution. I don't see any battle that's ever been won at the war front without eventually getting to a round table to have a conversation.
You know, one of the things that some of the honorables told us yesterday was that if care is not taken, all of these things we see will replicate itself in almost all the states because there's no more money to share. From Abuja,
that's Honorable Ogun was saying that yesterday.
So see, you just wonder.
I keep, referring you to that Lekki Order report of how many years ago now? Some 7-8 years or thereabout. And it's interesting that we are still kind of finding it difficult to get to that point. What we need to do is explore the opportunities that each state has. All this.
It sounds easy, though.
It sounds easy, but come on.
And for decades we've been at this.
How much of a brainer is it? Where does Lagos get its natural resources from? Where does Dubai get its natural resources from? So there are countries all over the world. If there is an example here, in Lagos, of how you can create, literally create wealth, not necessarily, So if there isn't money to share, can't we just generate the money to share, generate the business? That we have an example in Lagos, and that can be done. But if care is not taken, what Honorable Ogun said, it's just a matter of time.
Well, Mark, we might as well just start the papers from there as well, if you chip in.
Indeed, gentlemen, looking at the headlines, almost every headline I look at, a song comes to my mind, and I don't know why for the life of me, but it really makes me want to sing. I started yesterday, I think on Twitter, when I saw that tweet by the British High Commissioner to Nigeria saying that we received our monies back, £4.2 million Ibori loot, and I said, we don't get a lot, God, a number of songs just keep coming to my head. But look at this one. The headline is really nothing to laugh over. When you look at the headline on the front page of New Telegraph, NLC Kaduna face-off. El Rufai draws battle lines, declare Waba wanted. That's on the front page of New Telegraph. Yes, you saw it yesterday, but they have all the details. I don't want to say juicy details, but hey, I'm very tempted to say that about this particular story. Compares labor to bandits. Sacks nurses below level 14. Thugs attack protesters. Federal government begs for ceasefire. Are we at war? Well, you might want to know why they're using that term. PGF, Northern governors weighed in. Reconsider your stand, ACF. Oil workers threaten nationwide strike. Put members on red alert over crisis. It's page 3 and 4 read for you. Well, yes, Honorable Ogun did say something, but I also remember talking to Comrade Asugweni, and he was saying that this is a message to all the governors because they believe that if what happens in Kaduna is successful, then they could see reverberation across the country. There could be a copycat syndrome, so to speak, across the country because of the current situation. So Labour is uniting to send a message. I think that's what you also see at the different interventionists bodies coming in right now, and you can see there oil workers threaten nationwide strike, put members on red alert over crisis. So this could degenerate if nothing is done about it. Pages 3 and 4 will give you all the details. You also have the story, carry arms, defend yourselves now, or Tom tells subjects, says Nigerians suffering under Buhari's government, is also on the front page as well. Security, IGP launches Operation Restore Peace in the Southeast. And you also see the story. Investors in quoted telcos earn 396 billion naira in 4 months. Are they doing well or doing badly? Well, it doesn't look like they're doing badly. You might want to read details on page 5. Subsector posts 7.055 trillion naira in market capitalization. COVID-19 lockdown, virtual parleys spur growth indeed, because we're all online now. They're cashing in or cashing out, if as the case might be. Let's leave it there for New Telegraph.
Wow. What scenarios we have there? Quite a lot of things playing themselves out
and shocking.
there, I tell you.
I'm shocking.
Well, but the one of Tom, he's been saying this for a while now. So he seems to be drumming it in their ears.
He's not the only one that has said it. You remember what the former, defense chief also said, that when people should defend themselves. But what exactly does that mean? Because what's happening in Libya, if you saw that video making the rounds, almost every family has at least 6 guns. Is that what this is heading to?
Yeah, but what are people supposed to do if you keep kidnapping them left, right, and center? Are people supposed to wait for their turn?
Oh, okay, well,
or what? What would they do?
Maybe I don't know the kind of arms that Governor Tom is talking about. Just maybe, I don't know.
Well, not that one is saying they should bear arms, but...
what does carry arms mean?
Could be a machete.
It could be or a stick.
But the law is the law, so you don't want to be on the wrong side of the law.
We'll wait to see
as it plays out. But look at blueprints as well. As workers' protest thickens in Kaduna, El Rufai declares Waba, others wanted. Sack nurses, KASU lecturers. Thugs attack workers as Waba says we're on top of our game. Governor orders fresh recruitment of nurses. Negotiate with workers, APC governors, ACF beg El Rufai. Intervene or we shut down. Nupain tells FG. Electricity workers threaten nationwide action.
Oh
boy. Oh boy.
As we say, the plot thickens.
And they may not get, who knows? I mean, some of the governors are already weighing it because I think they know how this may likely spiral out of control if we don't put a lead on it or handle it properly. So hence the reason why some of these things are coming on. And then you see at the bottom strip here, insecurity, IGP flags off Operation Restore Peace in Southeast. Someone asking me, wait a minute, I thought Niger governor the other time was raising alarm how Boko Haram had set up camp, trying to launch from there, taking up local government, and then you see what's going on in Borno as well. So, but who knows if the police will launch the same thing there and how soon, and why didn't they start from there? Who knows? I mean, several questions about all of those things. Well, while the alerts came, 2021 budget deficit, Buhari seeks NAS nod to raise 2.343 trillion naira loan. So that's what you see there. That's blueprints this morning.
4.1 million pounds in naira. Well, maybe I'm just getting ahead of myself. The Vanguard newspaper, leads with this one. Review NIN policy for UTME now. Senate tells JAM and NIMSI. Candidates, parents laud Senate's intervention. JAM's inclusion of NIN for UTME registration inconsiderate, says Ifeanyi. Don't make NIN an exams condition, Kunife says. NIN added to registration woes. As subscribed to students, and the story is on page 5. It's definitely something a little worrying. And for the Senate to be weighing in on this now, most certainly is something that calls for concern. Get the details on page 5 of the paper this morning. UK will deny visas to Nigerians who disrupt 2023 polls.
What about who disrupts the peace and quiet of the country at the moment? Or moving forward, build up to 2023 polls?
It depends on where it was said. Or maybe it was at an event.
Where it was said?
Where the event, but the details you'll find on the inside page is page 12 to be precise. Right under the picture you see there, strike, Waba dares El-Rufai as governor declares him others wanted. More on that later today. Ethnic cleansing looms in Southeast. Igbo leaders raise alarm. What does that mean? The details you'll find on page 7. IGP launches Operation Restore Peace to check insecurity in Southeast. There's so many other stories on the front page, but let's quick look at Mr. and Mrs. You'd like to own a 30 million naira SUV, my dear? That's a tall order. That's Mrs. saying to Mr. And Mr. says, people said the same thing when I was planning to marry you because you're taller than me. But I got you, didn't I? The back page has sports. AJ's fight with Fury plunged into doubt as judge rules Fury must take on Wilder again. Two boxers to receive $45 million each. Fury to pay Wilder £14 million to step aside. For beating yourselves up, you get so much. Maybe it's some kind of business you want to try as well. That's the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Okay.
Well, I don't know if anyone wants to try boxing. As for Mr. who's feeling like Mr. Capable, all apologies to Banky W. I told you, for almost every headline now, a song is coming to my mind. I'm not going to sing what's coming to my mind for Mr. And then for that federal government, Senate weighing in on NIN, I think it's something that we will be looking into very soon. The Guardian also has that on the front page this morning. Senate wants NIN dropped as requirement for exam. Now, one might not have an issue particularly with the NIN, I mean, because there's been a drive for many Nigerians as possible to get their national identification number. And it would seem that progress has been made on that front. I don't know how quickly it's been made, but it would seem that the process has been liberalized. However, the JAMB registration process itself is JAMB question. I was just telling the PRO the other day, I said, look, for the students who successfully managed to register for JAMB, I think it will only be fair to give them at least 10 marks. There ought to be marks for successfully registering for JAMB, because the process itself, don't ask me how I know, but I know. It's a page 4 read. Senate wants NIN dropped as requirement for exam. It's on the front page of The Guardian this one. But the lead story says fossil fuels divestment may halt $150 billion oil gas projects. Yes, you read right. Fossil fuels divestment. So oil and gas, well, people say to still be attractive for the next 30 years. But from the indicators we're seeing here in Nigeria and the indications, looks like we're not getting the required investment, or it's not getting the required investment it needs right now. And that's because other people are looking to cleaner energy. Fossil fuels divestment may halt $150 billion oil gas project. IEA calls for end to fossil fuel investment with launch of decarbonization roadmap. Oshibajo canvasses equitable global energy transition for developing countries. And I think that's a call we should all support. Stakeholders raise fresh concerns over continuous dependence on hydrocarbon, removal of subsidy, refinery rehabilitation, gas economy, sacrosanct, minister insists. So that is also there as well. I mean, this call being made by the vice president, you look at it, the fact that almost all the other developed countries, in quote, developed on fossil fuels, and now developing countries, which are just coming up now, are now being forced to move to cleaner energy, which are oftentimes more expensive and also depend on this as a source of income. There'll be huge question marks as to how this is going to be equitable for, countries. However, what are we doing with our own resources as we speak? Because we also have other things. Gas is a big one, and that's why the minister is also talking about gas economy being sacrosanct. It's a page 2 read for you there. I'm waiting for your arrest. Waba Des El Rufai. It's also on the front page. They have a number of riders which I'll leave you to do. Buhari seeks fresh 2.3 trillion naira loan to fund 2021 budget. That's also there. And NITDA wants Nigerians to be wary of new WhatsApp terms of service. They keep changing almost every day. You might want to see this the story on page 26 of The Guardian. Let's leave it there for the paper.
Well, take a look at Tribune next. Kaduna thugs attack Labour. Rufai sacks nurses. Government declares Waba, others wanted. Nupang set for showdown with FG. FG. And you wonder, well, FG is saying everybody should come shoot your swords.
No,
why?
It's like,
why FG?
Intervene or else.
Oh, okay. And you see Labour threatens to shut down power installation from tomorrow. Oh. FG cautions El Rufai, Labour on crisis. NGF sues for peace. So that's all, you find right there.
Are we losing sight of the fact that this is just a 5-day warning strike?
Just? You call it just? Look what's happened in 2 days and you say it's just. This is not just. It's more than just. And then you see reps to probe customs over alleged killing of 5 Oyo residents. You wonder what happened. Why did, anyway, since they're looking into that, so you see what happens. I know about this name. Yes, Senate asks FG to shelve name as precondition for UTME. And I think what should also follow suit is some of these things, when they want to test them. What's wrong with saying, okay, for any elections moving forward, you must have your name. If you want to campaign or vie for it, show us your name first. If you're asking citizens to go as a precondition for exams.
If you want, before you vie for political office,
you must
show your name to INEC.
Yes. Let INEC make it a precondition for picking up the form or showing any interest whatsoever. If that's the case, then, so that we all know that, look, it's not us and them kind of scenario. It's you can't keep going this way. Helpless people struggling, queuing up. Everybody show this thing. And even after you show your name, test it for 1 or 2 years before every Nigerian will eventually make it compulsory.
I think the point that Mope made about students is something that we should give some credit to.
They go through a lot already, because after getting all the forms, false, your money is not refundable. You're not even guaranteed getting into school because there's so much students who want to get in and there's so few admission spaces. So it's crazy. Take a look at what's on the back page, sports lovers. Fury must face Wilder again. That's from the court, as Joshua considers next opponent. So they seem to have thrown spanner in the works of that one. But good news as well at the bottom strip there. Fulham, West Brom keen on $8 million deal for Awoniyi. He's got his work permits, they can reveal. So that's a good one for him right there.
Daily Trust has this one. Kaduna showdown. FG intervenes as El Rufai Labour stick to their guns. Guns again? Well, that's what you have on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Governor declares NLC president wanted, sacks nurses. Come and arrest me. Waba dares. He has no powers to declare anyone wanted, says Falana. Resolve umpires, governors, PDF, ACF, all say. Find the story on the inside pages of the paper. The pictures there tell you some of the things that happened in Kaduna yesterday. And right under the nameplate, plane conveying Emir of Kano, others makes emergency landing. What is that about? The inside pages will give you the details. Judge kidnapped inside Katsina court.
What? What's going on?
Well, that's what you have right there.
Right inside the court?
Right inside the court. The story is on page 6 of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning.
So you see what's going on? They're attacking institutions. First schools, then courts, then religious worship centers.
We shouldn't take this lightly. We should just give it all the attention it needs. And there is a lot more to this insecurity than just guns.
I know what the police have said about that one now.
we'll wait to see. The stories on the inside pages. Right under those pictures, Boko Haram exploiting pandemic to push back into Nigeria. Well, as I always say, we must know this would happen before it happened, because before the lockdown really took active effect last year, I remember we hosted Frank Combine. He was saying, when we raised the issue, that look, there have been some unrest, and he said that's just the tip of the iceberg. Sometime in April last year, that a lot will still happen, because when people are locked in, a lot is going to happen. So this is just perhaps one of those examples. That's the Daily Trust newspaper this morning.
Well, leadership has this one: Nigeria's debt profile to hit 36.3 trillion naira as PNB seeks fresh 2.3 trillion naira loan. That's what leadership has on the front page for you. Says new borrowing to fund specific capital projects in 2021 budget. Yes, so 2.3 trillion naira loan is what the president is asking the National Assembly to approve. It's a page 4 read for you. You might want to see details. You also see here, maybe we might not need the loan, maybe we might, but it's already been requested for. When you look at this story, federal government begins talks with UK over new £80 million Ibori loot. Receives £4.2 million. Yes, we got that yesterday. £80 million, did you say? Well, you might want to read details on page 4 of the paper. There are a number of other stories there. One of them, which is catching my interest now, is this Emefiele false claims of imbalance in agric interventions. Don't forget that a number of states had raised objections over the manner in which loans for the Anchor Borrowers program was being disbursed. Some zones were claiming marginalization. But right now, the CBN governor is not staying quiet over it. He has responded. Don't forget that he's always said, don't drag the CBN into politics. We're not politicians. We're what we are, a bank of last resort. So you might want to read what the story is about on page 21 of the paper. You also see here, Okowa grants full autonomy to Delta Judiciary, and Kaduna strike records first casualties as El Rufai sacks varsity lecturers, nurses, declares Waba others wanted. APC governors weighed in. That story is on the front page for you, continuing somewhere inside the paper. Now, Chairman, asked you a suggestion for INEC to, look at NIN as one of the preconditions for it to vote or to be voted for. Guess what? INEC already responded. I think people already put that to them, and they said no, we will not be requiring NIN. The fact that you have voters card is enough for us. Whether that's going to be updated to synchronize, I mean, after all, what we're looking to do right now is synchronize all the identities. You can't get an international passport. Don't forget that an embargo has been placed on that now. But you can't get an international passport in Nigeria if you don't have a NIN. You can't get a driver's license, perhaps. I'm not very certain of that one, but I think that's one of the requirements you need right now. So why not to our voters card? I mean, why won't we require NIN to vote or be voted for? That would be a very good suggestion. Let us see how INEC eventually reconsiders, or maybe they'll reconsider their stance since they've already responded to an initial question to that one. But hey,
the agencies are serving.
What do you think?
Yeah, all the agencies serve the people. So if the people say this is what we want, well, that is what the people should get. After all, we need to know who is Nigerians who are supposed to vote, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So why not?
And where there are so many people yet to register for their voter cards, let's see what happens.
Look at Daily Times. Senate cautions Buhari on appointments. Period. That's just the way it is. No rider, no kicker. I had to look twice. That's just it. Well, wait a minute. The caution, but approved. Okay, that's Daily Times.
Okay, but Nigeria News Direct this morning is still also concerned about the is also concerned about the loan. Disquiet over FG's 2.34 trillion naira external loan request captured in 2021 budget. That's according to the DMO. Find the details there. Lagos unveils 500 mini buses for intra-city transportation. Question that came to my mind on this one is, we have sensitized the people, we have informed them, how are they responding to it? it will be good to find out from the people how they are, taking this on board, and perhaps take ownership of it eventually.
There you go. So that is it with a look at some of the dailies here today. But don't go away yet. We will be back in a moment.
It's the second day of the protest embarked upon by the Nigeria Labour Congress in Kaduna State. With the NLC president as the arrowhead, the workers are protesting the disengagement of their colleagues by the Kaduna State government without recourse to due process and demand that they be reinstated. This time around, the workers gather at the popular Napa roundabout in the Kaduna metropolis to continue their protest. Midway through the protest, things turned awry as a group of thugs armed with dangerous weapons stormed the place and descended on the workers, inflicting injuries on some of them before security operatives doused the tension by firing tear gas into the air.
We got credible information that El-Rufai have hired one Alhaji Hassan Gwaska, who lives in Hayam Banki. He was a car dealer and hired some thugs to come and attack us. I called the DSS headquarters. I called the DIG operation. I also called the state director of SSS. I gave them the information. While we are here, they came. But we thank God, we have dismantled them. We have chased them away because we have the number. We are not thugs and we are not using thugs.
The deputy president of the NLC says no matter what the state government does, the strike will run its course.
NLC is here on ground in Kaduna, discharging our constitutional duty, and we don't have any regret. What we are doing is lawful. What we are doing is backed by law of Nigeria, and we will continue to enlarge and establish this action until El-Rufai complies to the right of the workers.
Concerned residents also held a peaceful protest, calling on the NLC to suspend the strike because it has brought untold hardship to residents of the state. The state governor, Nasir El-Rufai, agrees with them.
We want him. We will bring him to justice. We are looking for him. He should report to the nearest police station or report to us. He will be prosecuted for economic sabotage. There is no grounds for compromise. They have used their last ultimate weapon. It will not change anything. We will not change our position. And that's it.
On his part, the spokesman to the governor highlights other decisions taken by the state government on the NLC protest.
The Ministry of Health will dismiss all nurses below grade level 14 for going on an unlawful strike. The salaries that will have gone to them are to be given as extraordinary occupational allowances to the health workers who are at their duty posts, trying to fill the gap left by those absconding from duty. The Ministry of Health has further been directed to advertise vacancies for the immediate recruitment of new nurses to replace those that have been dismissed. Any academic staff of CASU that does not report for work will be dismissed. The authorities of CASU have been directed to submit a copy of the attendance register for all categories of staff daily to the Office of the Secretary to the State Government and the Commissioner of Education.
With the impasse between the NLC and Kaduna State Government becoming a matter of who blinks first, it is expected that the coming days will be pivotal as to where the pendulum swings.
Welcome back. Well, yes, as you may have seen there, Mr. Comrade Ayuba Waba, President of Nigeria Labour Congress, as well as Barreto Mohammed, Head of Service for Kaduna State, both join us this morning on the developments playing out in Kaduna State. Good morning, and thank you both for joining us today on the program. Let me start with you, Comrade. Well, yes, a lot happened yesterday, but haven't seen how things possibly may have calmed down now. So tell us, have things calmed down for you? Have you changed your stance? Are you going to do things differently moving forward as you give us your perspective of the background of what transpired?
Well, thank you very much, Chamberlain, and good morning, Nigerians. As you are aware, the issue we are engaging in Kaduna is about the issue of the fundamental right of a worker. I keep saying, a worker is not a slave. Employment relationship is guided by laws, and those laws are very explicit. Our laws are very rich, and on every subject matter, there are very clear provisions of the law. You cannot, and I think they need to tell us, have they not thrown out more than 7,000 workers out of job? Have the provision of the law, particularly Section 20 of the Labour Act, respected? The obvious answer is no. Can any Nigerian, not even trade unions, fold our arms to watch a situation where breadwinners of families in their thousands are disengaged? What will be the consequence, the social consequence? Already we are witnessing it. And therefore, this is a core labor issue that NLC have to engage. And that is why we are engaging this issue. And that is why we have followed the law to give adequate notice in writing. But the government of Kaduna State have remained adamant, because we are in a situation where people that are power drunk can continue to do whatever they want to do, but basically, sorry.
Talking, we can hear you while you're adjusting.
So what I'm saying in essence is that what is happening is crude abuse of power, and every Nigerian have now seen what we are canvassing. It's not something new, it's not something extraordinary. And that is why in the first instance we said this action is going to be limited to Kaduna for 5 days. And we are still here. We are going to continue for these 5 days. But where it fails, certainly we are going to escalate it, because we believe that we have tiers of government. They are not the ultimatum, because we have also tiers of government. We have a sitting president. And on this matter, we are very, very concerned. And that is why we cannot change our position, because justice have not been done to those workers. How can somebody be celebrating sack of workers? Is it the only state that have challenge economically? In many states that we have gone to, I gave you an example. When Kano State tried to revert to the 30,000 minimum wage, immediately we wrote a letter, he requested for dialogue. And I sent my deputies to go and dialogue with him. He led that dialogue and said, no, I'm not reverting to 30,000. These are the challenges I have, and therefore let us look for solutions. He put the facts on the table, and solutions were found. When we went to Rivers, you saw it. Before daybreak, that meeting was concluded 1 in the night, and we made pronouncement. What is then the difference? The difference is that we are discussing with a tyrant, where they don't see respect for the rule of law. As I speak to you this morning, in fact, the security agencies are already there. They have hired about 50 trucks of thugs to try to invade the NLC state office, where our people are already converging. Is this democracy? Even under military, labor leaders, labor laws have not been so violated as it is today. The security agencies are already there. They are taking the pictures. They are recording everything, all the vehicles, all the people. And basically, let us not also mix the fact. Yesterday, those people that were hired to actually carry placard, I have the record, we recorded it. They were paid 500 naira. In fact, I have them on clip. Our people went to interview them. They are youths. Most of them are below the age of 17. What kind of system are we running? And you can clip, you can ask. In fact, I think The press need to add such people to find out what are they protesting for. Because our people are people that are affected. Every person that come out to the street is affected. There are workers that are affected. So their story can be heard. So basically, I think propaganda in this case also must be exposed. And that is what we are trying to do. We are aware that their propaganda machinery have been rolled out, including getting people to make a false statement. We are all aware of this, including using the social media platform. All of this will be responding to. But the crux of the matter is that we are workers that, yes. Was the law complied with? No. These are the facts that we need to put on the table. Do we expect labor to fold its arm? Including everybody that has spoken to this issue. After we have put the facts before the public, people know where the fault is. And I think it's for people to take responsibility. You can see the incoherency. The commissioner, the spokesperson said, we blocked offices, we blocked hospitals. Whereas the head of service, a few days ago, you can run the clip. She said everything is going on normally and the labor does not disrupt anything. Where is the contradiction? So when you are doing propaganda, people will not be on the same page.
All right, comrade, just one moment. Let's take the response of government as well on this. Madam, you've heard the president of the NLC make some comments about what's happening in Kaduna. He has talked about the fact that they wrote a letter to the Kaduna state government. They didn't get any response, and a number of other things you may want to respond to very quickly.
Good morning, Chamberlain.
Morning.
Good morning, Mr. Waba. I don't know where to start, but I will start with 2015 because he said we did not follow procedure. Now, in 2015, when my predecessor was head of service, we did a sensitization exercise. We invited labor, we informed them of our intention to modernize the civil service, and we took them to Zaria to do, in conjunction with DFID, we did a retreat for the labor unions and members of the Kaduna state government. We informed them and we agreed that we will do this, we called it Public Service Revitalization and Renewal Program. We also went around and did a sensitization to the traditional councils, the civil society organizations, and other stakeholders. We did to the public. We launched, I could remember, we launched in Murtala Square, we launched the program, and everybody was there. So we did we started implementation in 2017. But unfortunately, because civil servants were left to do it with no supervision, most of the criteria we gave was not complied with. We later realized that the public service revitalization was not implemented fully. So we decided to do an exercise of the physical verification of civil servants. And the commissioners and permanent secretaries were told to take the lead. Because while civil servants may feel intimidated by their colleagues and may not implement whatever the decisions were taken completely, the permanent secretaries and the commissioners, when they take the lead, they would ensure that these criteria we gave were implemented fully. So that is what we started. And in the process, you know, one of the criteria we used, apart from declaring some of the cadres obsolete because of the modernization, we also said the young people who didn't have the minimum qualification, which is a diploma for entry into the Kaduna State Civil Service, we gave them 2 years from 2017 to obtain diploma and other, even degrees, whatever they wanted to pursue in the career. And most of them did not take the opportunity. That's about 4 years after. So we decided that those who did not take the opportunity to develop themselves, if we are not able to place them appropriately, then we'll have to disengage them, because after all, they fall within the cadre that we're supposed to be disengaged. So that is what happened. And this thing started when the NLC, the current protest started when the NLC cited a fake letter that I spoke about previously. The governor has denied the contents of that letter, and every other person.
Right, madam, but what he said, pardon me, what he said is a couple of things. First, he says over 7,000 workers have been sacked, and that the state government did not obey Section 20 of the labor laws. And he says, look, from what he said this morning as well, is that Rivers, Kano, almost certain scenario played out, but they got in there. They put the facts on the table. Negotiations went on, and they saw a reason. But he thinks that Kaduna is completely towing the opposite line.
That is exactly what I'm saying, you know. The NLC decided, we did that engagement with TUC, but the NLC refused to engage with us. They preferred to respond to a letter which we said is fake. It has been in circulation since 2019. We don't know where it emanated from, but you could see clearly that the letter was not written and it was not the signature of the PPS that appeared. The governor since 2019 has been denying that letter, and we said it is not true. But the NLC went ahead and issued a press statement on that letter. Now, how can they? How can we agree on a publication that is fake, a letter that will be disowned? You know, okay. So I don't see how we can engage on the basis of that fake letter.
Okay, but before that letter came up, or after that letter, has there been any, have you reached out, has the state government reached out to NLC in spite of all that happened before this protest began?
We denied everything. We said it didn't have, it is not like that. But they were not ready to listen to us. TUC listened to us, they came, we engaged them, and that is why they are not participating. They even paid a solidarity visit on you know, and I received them the other time, as I said.
Let's bring in Mr.
So
Comrade.
I don't know what NLC wants from Kaduna.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Comrade, you heard that. Go ahead, please. Madam, just hold on a bit. Comrade, go ahead, please.
Let me clarify that false information. TUC officially yesterday met at the level of their National Executive Council and issued a formal statement supporting what NLC is doing, claiming that there was any solidarity visit to Kaduna state government. They were cajoled to say that there will be a meeting in the night because the meeting was then called off. Let me also try to put the facts correctly. You remembered, and it's a fact, let Nigerians listen. Kaduna state government said they want to shed weight in 2021 because of paucity of funds, because workers consume between 80 and 91%. It has no linkage with the issue of 2015. And they gave us the facts to say that workers are about 100,000. How can she come to a public media to contradict a statement they made? So clearly there is a contradiction and there is half-truth. What I'm saying emphatically, and let me also try to address the issue of which union should represent them. 99% of the unions in the Joint Public Service Negotiating Council are affiliates of NLC. If she's not aware of that as head of service, she should be aware. It's only one that is an affiliate of TUC in the Joint Public Service Negotiating Council. All the unions that are affected, NLC came in because we are their umbrella union. We came in because they complained formally, all the unions, to say they have not been consulted, that the law have not been respected. And look at it this way. If the law had been respected, because the law said one, Section 20 said one, before you contemplate redundancy, and I can say that redundancy has been carried out in 2021, the numbers are known. In the local government system, close to 2,000. In the primary care agency, 1,700 and something. In the suburb is 4,000. Put together is close to 8,000. It's to come out, and 11,000 workers are already on the list because they have not received their April salary. This is the fact that we need to put before the public.
Okay, Mr. Waba, just one moment. Let her quickly respond to that, to the issues that you have just raised now. Madam, could you quickly respond to that? You know, that there are a number of people that have already been relieved of their jobs, and that 11,000 are already penciled. He also said that there is a need, according to the law that both himself and Chamberlain have referenced this morning, that the state government ought to have consulted with their unions. 99% according to Comrade Waba, of which are affiliates of the NLC. Did the government of Kaduna State take this action?
Well, you know, that's why when I did my first interview, I wondered why it is the national that is talking. I would have preferred to sit face to face with our employers, and so that they can tell us, oh, if Mr. Waba has a documentary evidence that says that we have dismissed this number of people, and we have penciled down this number of people to dismiss, then he can please avail the world with such documents.
But that same information, madam, that same information came from the NLC chairman in Kaduna State.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You know, when unions want when unions want whatever they want, they send fake issues, fake information to the world. So that is why I would have preferred to deal with a document that says there's something that I have signed or somebody else has signed on these things. So there is no way that I can sit here and respond to something that is not documented. It is just hearsay.
But he also said that the state government put up a statement saying we're sacking people because of for paucity of funds, that you can't keep paying that amount of money. Is that correct?
Yes, it is correct, but it is a continuation of the 2017. The exercise that we're carrying out in 2017, that is the continuation. And that is what I know as head of service.
So if you're sacking people for paucity of funds, part of their bone of contention also is that those who have been sacked previously will never pay their entitlements. And even people who have been sacked recently, many of them say, look, no such thing has happened.
You know, I don't know how to convince you, but I can assure you that, as I said earlier, that we inherited over 14 billion naira as gratuity and death benefits. Now, when we agreed, when the Executive Council sat and agreed, resolved that the people who have been denied gratuity and death benefits from 2010 should be paid first. And we have still since commenced payment of salary. We have paid more than 13 billion naira as gratuity and death benefits, including those that were disengaged in 2017.
So
now, some of the staff, you know, because we implemented the contributory pension scheme fully in 2017. Some of the staff did not know that they had to go to their pension fund administrators and do a documentation.
Okay, so in other words, maybe let's cut to the chase. How many workers has the state government sacked at the moment? From 20? Yes, go ahead.
From 2017?
Yes.
Or now?
Both, from then and now, up till now.
Well, I can't remember the exact number. I don't want to say anything that I will be quoted again. But I remember we disengaged 21,000 primary school teachers, and we engaged over 25,000 of them.
All together, or just for this latest disengagement?
No, the latest disengagement we have not decided. We have not issued any numbers yet because we have not concluded. And I said, as soon as we conclude, we will inform everybody.
How many of those 21,000 have received their entitlements?
Well, I can't say now, but I can find out for you if you like.
I thought this is over 1, 2, 3 years ago.
Yes, that was late 2017. It was.
And you still don't have how many have received entitlements?
Pardon?
And you don't have the figure of those who the state government have authoritatively paid entitlements?
Well, even right now, payments are being made right now. So unless...
Yeah, but you're the head of service. You should have some figures.
Yes, I am the head of service and I get updates. But if you want the update now, I can't give you...
Okay, what was the last update that you had? What was the last update you had?
Pardon?
What was the last update that you had?
The last update was total, not those who were... The last update I had is that we have paid more than 13 billion naira.
For how many of those disengaged? How many of the 21,000 disengaged workers?
No, we don't pay primary school teachers. We don't pay...
No. I mean, the last update you had of the figure of the 21,000 that have been disengaged, how many of them have been paid as at the last time you checked?
You know, we decided to pay everybody that was not paid from 2010. So I have to extract those that were disengaged in 2017 to give you the information.
Oh, comrade, over 13 billion have been paid.
Chamberlain, let me put the facts also correct. There is a contradiction. The commissioner of local government was on this platform. He said in the 2021 disengagement, about 1,700 local government workers were disengaged. This is a fact. We have the letters, all the letters of disengagement of those in the local government, of those in the primary care agency, and those in SOBEP. I will forward those letters to your WhatsApp, sample of each of them to your WhatsApp, and you can see the date is reading March 2021. Why are we not telling the world the truth? Is what I cannot understand.
Let him confirm. Comrade, just one moment.
21,000 workers were disengaged.
All right, comrade, just one moment. Madam, can you confirm or refute that?
About the local government. Yes, what the Commissioner for Local Government said is true. The Local Government Service Board is not state government. But of course, I am the head of civil service. And you will recall that I said a portal is being launched for all those that were disengaged in the local government, including those that we have penciled in the state, to upload
the local government service board is not government.
No, it's not. It's not state government. Local government is you know, it is an independent. We have it is an independent body on itself. The local government service. It is a unified local government service. We have the state, of course. I'm sure you know that.
A joint account. You told us the last time that you were disengaging some persons in the local government, and it was approved by the state government. You said it's on your record.
I can't hear you, please. What did you say?
It was on record what you said about those local government workers who were disengaged. You said the state government were involved in that disengagement. In fact, the letter emanated from the state government.
No, I said the local government service board has the responsibility for employment, promotion, and discipline, including disengagement of staff of the unified local governments.
Come back to this after this break, and Comrade will weigh in. Just hold on. We're back in a moment.
Thanks for staying with us. Well, Madam, part of the law that's been referenced here a few times is that when an employer disengages a staff for whatever reason, you also give them their payoff once and for all. It would appear that from what you have said that hasn't been done. How do you react to that, and how do you expect the labor and everyone else to take that?
We paid them their 1 month salary in lieu of notice and 3 months salary in lieu of notice, respectively, depending on the years of service that they have served, the years they have served in the service.
But you also said now that there are thousands of people that are yet to get their benefits.
Yes. I didn't say thousands. I am very careful when mentioning figures, unless I am sure. I said those that we inherited since 2010 are being paid. I don't know how many amongst them are those affected by the 2017 disengagement.
All right, well, comrade, how are you going to continue with this protest when the state government has declared you wanted?
Well, I've said yesterday he has no such power, and I think it's something that legal luminaries have also posited very explicitly. But before I get to that, I think it's good we put the facts before the public. Under the redundancy law, it has Section 20 ABC. Section A said, before you contemplate redundancy, that the employer of government shall inform the trade union about the reason and the scope of the redundancy. Item B stated clearly that even when carrying out redundancy, the last to come in will be the first to go out. And lastly, the redundancy package will be negotiated as you are issuing the worker his letter of disengagement, his entire package. We are not talking of the required notice, because the notice is that when you are sacking worker or his leaving service, he gives you either 1 month in lieu of notice or he gives you 3 months notice. That is not the case. This is a case of redundancy, which government have come out clearly to say is because of paucity of fund. What the law required is that his check will be ready. Imagine it this way, and let Nigerians look at it. A worker have worked for 30 years. He has not planned for retirement because the retirement is either 60 years of age or 35 years in service. Midway, you say you don't have money to pay him, and you disengage him. You merely give him a letter and a 1 month salary. How do you think that man can fit into the society? That's why the law is very explicit. And let me also tell you that the issue of saying that labor have been engaged is false. One of the gains that labor has made globally is a global law about the right of a worker to collective bargaining through his union. That law was domesticated in Nigeria on the 15th of October 1960 under a democratic government. And it is enshrined in our labor laws. After every collective bargaining, there will be a CBA, collective bargaining agreement. In every state that unions and government have reached an agreement, there will be a signed document. Signed by government, one about the scope, about the people affected, about how they are going to be paid. Let her produce one in Kaduna in conformity with that law. That is to tell you that there is no consultation. Let us not mix words. That is why we are saying, when Obasanjo did the Federal Civil Service Reform, you remember, in 2005, every worker that was leaving the service has his entire benefit, his gratuity, his terminal benefit, including 10% severance. They also received training. They were trained on different skills. As they were given this engagement letter, their checks were also ready. This is what the law envisaged. And this is what needs to be respected. This is what has been violated. And this is what we have been shouting that Nigerians need to understand. This is the only state in Nigeria out of 36 states of the Federation that this impunity is happening. So this is the difference. Also about quoting the number of people that have been paid or not. No, that is not also correct. And let me put the figures. The teachers that were disengaged were 21,000 plus. In the core civil service, 8,000 plus were also disengaged. And I tell you, as a matter of fact, when she's talking about contributory pension started in 2017. Yes, contributory pension is you assess what you have already saved between you and the employer. But your accrued rights, if you have worked for 30 years before 2017, your accrued right is supposed to be paid by government. That's what is happening even presently with the contributory pension scheme. That's what the law says. That you have accrued rights, having worked for 30 years, you are disengaged in 2021. Those accrued rights that you have accumulated need to be paid in form of gratuity. And basically, those are accrued rights you have earned while working in service. Same apply even in the private sector. Even in the private sector, they know that the redundancy law is respected and people are paid. So these are the facts. And therefore, going forward, I think is to return to the basis. They should be able to respect the provision of the law. No worker wants to die perpetually working. What we are doing is to protect the right of the worker. If you want to disengage worker, respect the law and pay his benefit. Let it also be captured in a collective bargaining agreement. That's why they cannot show us any document. I want to also forward to you, and I said that, let it be recorded. Those that were disengaged in SUBEB, 4,000 of them, I will forward the sample of the letters to you. Those that were disengaged in primary care agency, I will forward their letter to you in the current exercise, not the one of 2017. And the same with the ones of the local government. I can tell you authoritatively, whereas the law said before disengagement, in fact, before you contemplate the redundancy, labor shall be engaged. We have not been engaged. No arm of labor that represent those workers. In fact, the law said even where the worker does not belong to a union, his representative shall be consulted. That's what the law said. So basically, this is where we are. I think it's important for Nigerians to get this fact. We are not mixing facts. We are putting the fact before the public, and the public should be able to judge. And that is why insecurity is on the increase. All those 21,000 teachers and the 8,000 workers disengaged in 2017, we are not paid their terminal benefit. Their children are already out of school. Their children are out of school. That's why the figure cannot be given to us. Let them give us the figure and the name. We can publish it. They can come out. The other day when I came here in 2017, when they said we invited them, they came with their letters. Everybody saw it.
Okay, just hang on a minute. My colleague has a question for you. But before then, Madam, do you have any documents, any agreement whatsoever with the Kaduna State NLC?
The moment they shut off electricity, they cancelled all the talks. Now, the 23 local governments disengaged 1,648. SUBEB disengaged 2,963, and I told you also that we are doing a verification. That is why we have not paid those that we are disengaging right now. Because we asked them to go and do upload their
not even from 20.
561 of them, 561 of the SUBEB staff, of the 2,963 SUBEB staff that were given letters of disengagement, are being reinstated because they have proved during this verification that they have genuine certificates. So we have penciled them for reinstatement. That's 561. The primary health care has disengaged 995, which makes a total of 5,606. Kaduna State, the Kaduna State has not disengaged anybody. We are still doing the verification exercise. We have not declared redundancy. I repeat, we have not declared any redundancy. We are implementing. It is a continuation of the 2017 disengagement exercise. Kaduna State is right sizing. That's it.
Well, basically, Madam, the state is sacking people, just straight to the point. Well, my colleague Makwe has got questions for you. Makwe?
Well, first and foremost, I think she's tried to respond to what Comrade Ayuba Waba is saying. The head of service is talking about, and he's emphasizing the fact that they're right-sizing. Right-sizing will eventually involve people leaving the service. So I think the questions will also go to Comrade Waba as to whether or not the people who are being let go of as a result of not complying or having the requirements to continue to be in service, who were not properly employed in the first instance, maybe I don't know how they came into the service, but through the process of verification right now, who ought not to be in service, would they be requiring the state government to pay them? That's one. Then for the head of service, the question I have is, the people who you're letting go of through this verification process, are they the people who you're looking to let go of in the right sizing, or are you still looking to let go of people who have all their qualifications, who should be in service, so to speak? Are you letting them go as well because of the paucity of funds which you're citing? And if that is the case, isn't that redundancy automatically?
No. That is why I said of the staff that were disengaged from the SUBEB, those that did the verification, 561 of them are being reinstated right now. We gave them the letter, but we do not give them anything because, as I said, we are launching a portal that will give them the opportunity to upload their certificates. Only those who were found to be, who are supposed to have been disengaged in 2017 are being disengaged right now. People who have their, who are genuinely employed, they have their employment letters, they have their qualifications, the minimum qualification, and we will definitely not disengage them. And that is why the state government has
still not captured. Sadly, that is not captured in the notice which was put up. I mean, why the Kaduna state government is right-sizing. You have said the state government has released a statement saying that they cannot continue to use 84% to 96% of FAC receipts on personnel costs, as this will shortchange the majority of the state to satisfy those lucky to be public servants. So it looks like there is still, even though you have your qualifications and you have your certifications and you have everything which should certify you as a legal and proper public servant, you could still be let go of as a result of the fact that the Kaduna state government cannot continue to you know, keep up with the upkeep of the servants. So the question is, how many people are you looking to let go of? Because there's also been great emphasis on the fact that you are not going to you have not decided on the number of people you want to let go of, but it is certain that you're going to be letting go of people. Isn't that a redundancy already?
No, it is not, you know, as I said, if we had the intention of disengaging people who had qualifications and who had their letters of appointment, genuine letters of appointment, we wouldn't have penciled down 561 of the 2,963 SUBEB staff that were disengaged. No, we don't intend to disengage people who have genuine employment. If we hadn't had that fiscal problem with our funding, probably we wouldn't have known that some of these, the criteria we gave in 2017 was not fully implemented. We wouldn't have had reason to do the verification again. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
I know that, you know, the thing is, I don't know. Now, I do know that the Kaduna state government did put up a notice that they're going to be letting go of people. They're not certain how many, but they say this is public servants, which means that it will cut across political appointees and also civil servants, so to speak. Now, when that notice was put out, I will imagine that the Kaduna state government would also appreciate that this would not be an easy decision to take on the part of Labour, or maybe also on their own parts as well, and that there needs to be a lot of engagement both with the TUC and of course the NLC as well. It looks like you say that you have been able to do some engagements with the TUC. We saw a picture of you and some TUC people, so to speak, in the state, and it looks like you're very uncomfortable with the fact that the NLC national has had to wade in on this particular crisis. Did you imagine that this was going to be a very easy decision, especially after that notice was put out for an imminent disengagement of workers?
What I'm saying is that the NLC has refused to engage with us. They have refused to reason with us. What they are flying around is that they are flying that letter around, that we are casualizing staff, we are doing this, we are doing that. We have denied that. If they want the truth, they should come and engage with us, but they have refused. They are insisting that that letter is genuine. Now they have been, you know, sharing information that we have dismissed 60,000, we have dismissed 20,000, and so on and so forth. They have issued many, you know, figures, but I have lost count, you know. So that is why I'm not, unless I am certain of the number, as I said, payments are made all the time. Even now, when people do their verification, they are paid. But I cannot give you the exact figure at this minute because so much has happened since yesterday. So I don't know.
Let me come to you now and ask you, there are people who, maybe through the process of verification, we have seen this at the national level, we've seen this at the federal government level, whereby they have been trying to weed out ghost workers, people who do not have the required qualification, you know, or whatnot inside the civil service. Do you think that those people too should be, would the redundancy law also apply to those people, or are these just for certified workers fit and proper to be civil servants?
Thank you very much. I think people don't seem to understand what is redundancy. Mass sack, as is going on now, under any pretext, either right-sizing or duty paucity of fund, which is clearly the motive, and that motive has been known to every Nigerian, is redundancy, and it's clearly redundancy. Let me also say that even in the 2007 exercise, why did we have to come in here? I quoted the relevant laws. Let them show us one collective bargaining agreement in line with the provision of the collective bargaining law that have been entered with any union. There is none. And in every state, you will see that collective bargaining agreement. It's just coming here to tell people
You misunderstand my question.
The Kaduna
I think you're misunderstanding my question. The question is, those who are let go off as a result of not having the required qualification or not having the requirements, so to speak, to be fit and proper civil servants, when those people are let go off, would you require that the laws of redundancy be followed as well?
Thank you very much. Let me say that let us not hide under any pretext to say that people are not qualified. I'm coming to that, please. Let us not hide under any pretext, because that is what is happening, to say that one, anybody that is not qualified in the first instance is not supposed to be employed. That is what the law says. And if somebody is employed, he doesn't employ himself. He was employed through a process. He has a letter of engagement, either permanent or permanent and pensionable. And those people that are now being referred to as people that need to be disengaged have permanent and pensionable appointment letters. And the civil service law is very clear. When you have permanent and pensionable appointment, at any time you should be disengaged. You should be disengaged on the terms and conditions that we are employed. And therefore, clearly, it's redundancy. And I say so. In 2015, when redundancy was carried, 2005, when redundancy was carried out by the federal government, all those criteria, including those that have not reached the qualification that they ought to have, all of those fall under redundancy. And therefore, if somebody have worked for 25 years in service, and you come up today to say that he was employed as a carpenter, he has not improved himself, retire him on the basis of what you have employed him as a carpenter. Or if you have employed him as a grade 2 teacher, and now, because of knowledge have continued to increase, and you want BSc, is to pay him off on the basis of what you have employed him. That's what the law said. So we are not saying that workers cannot be disengaged. But the crux of the issue here is that their benefits must be paid before you give them disengagement.
As we wind down now, pardon me, Madam, could you just tell us, because I mean, you did say that the state government is recruiting people. Is that correct?
Yes, it is true.
But
and you know,
I thought that, if the state government was, you say, right-sizing as a result of paucity of funds, and then you're recruiting at the same time, how does that work?
You know, when we established that we were paying, as I said, if we hadn't done this physical exercise, we wouldn't have known that we still have people who didn't comply with the criteria that we gave. That's one. Secondly, recently, we had to dismiss a medical doctor that had served for over 20 years in Kaduna State because he had a fake certificate. We didn't know. He made sure that he remained outside Kaduna. He remained in the rural areas where he was doing his things. But when we did this verification, we realized that he never went, he didn't have a genuine medical certificate, so we had to dismiss him. Now, does the law allow that we allow such people to remain?
All right. So as we're winding down now, could you tell us, madam,
what of those that assumed
there's got to be a solution to some of these things. You know, concerning the just hold on a minute. Concerning the local government service board, which you spoke about, could you tell us who constitutes the local government service board?
The local government service board?
Yes.
Like Civil Service Commission, we have a chairman and permanent commissioners, and we have a secretary.
Who constitutes them?
The governor.
So they're answerable to the governor. Okay, so moving forward now, seeking a solution to this matter, what would you recommend as a solution to what is going on now?
The solution is that they allow us to continue with our verification, and then when we are through, we engage them if they want to engage with us. If they believe that that letter that they have been sharing to on their everywhere else that it is fake, then we sit down and discuss with them, and we tell them the reasons why we are disengaging this people. Now, I'm sure the NLC will not support the fact that we have found people who have assumed names of those who have died.
But did you receive any letter from NLC?
Did they write me to say that they want to engage up with us?
Have you received any letter from them?
They wrote threats on that letter, on that fake letter that they said we denied.
All right, well, comrade, solutions has to be sought, and there has to be one. Everyone wants these things to end peacefully, but what would you recommend as solution to this?
Well, thank you. Let me try to address
hold on, madam.
issue the head of service raised. There are clear provisions in the public service rules if somebody is employed with a fake certificate.
Yes.
Clear provisions.
Of course.
Dismissal and the process are very clear. So let's not mix words. Nobody supports illegality. So don't mix words into that. Clear provisions.
Madam, just hang on a minute. Madam, hang on. You've had your time. Just hang on, madam.
Then we engage.
Can you be civil and allow me also to talk? You have been able to talk. 2, we wrote official letter citing all the issues and the complaint. We are not parading any fake letter. Any figure we have quoted is correct. The letter of disengagement we have circulated is correct. I can give Chamberlain, he can hear it, and the people can be invited. We can invite them to speak on the issue. So we are not parading any false information. This information we are getting from the public sector unions, and I told you 99% of the public service union belong to NLC. It's because you have not engaged them, that's why we are coming in. If you have engaged them, we will not be having here. The workers that are protesting are people you have sacked. They are not people imported from the moon. So let us not come here and just begin to speak rhetorics. They have families to take care of. This is what we are discussing. So let us be basic. In such issues, when we write notice to you, it is you that will invite to say that please come for a meeting. And I remembered from your office, I have it. When we arrived here, a notice was issued. A minute later, they said, no, there is no need for the meeting. Is that true or not? From your office, I have it on my WhatsApp. And I have the conversation recorded. So why are you speaking from both sides of your mouth? We tell the people the truth. You are quoting TUC. Have you seen the next resolution they issued yesterday? Let us not cajole people to say that things are normal, things are right. Let us find a way to address it. And how to address it, fine. The law did not say when you finish, you consult labor. No. Section 20 said, before you contemplate, inform labor, 1, of the reason, 2, of the scope, how many people will be affected, what are the reasons for every worker, where is the list, before you do it, before you issue letter, that is the first procedure. So that we see reason with you. If anybody has fake certificate, we'll support it. Yes, exit him. If somebody is employed and he doesn't have the qualification, we'll support you. Exit him. But be transparent in whatever I do. That's what the law said, because in the course of what you said, you say you are doing this because of paucity of funds. But now you have changed gear. You say you have done it because of verification of 2017. So there is incoherency in what you are saying. And what we are saying, we are ready. Follow what the law says. Get your list before you issue any letter. Invite them to look at it, as the law says. And even those that will be disengaged, let their checks be ready.
All right,
this is your check.
Okay, we get your point. Madam, please go ahead as you're winding down.
Can we establish those that we are disengaging based on the either certificate or fake certificate or other things? If we don't do the verification, can we give you the number of people that were disengaging based on fake certificate, based on fake letters of appointment and so on? Can we do that?
But if they were engaged, there was a basis for the engagement, assuming there was an agreement, so to speak, on legal terms. So if they're going to be disengaged, on what basis are they going to be disengaged? Are they not going to pay them based on what they were engaged on?
That is why we're doing the verification exercise. That is why we have not
yeah, but you still say you haven't paid some of those who have been disengaged. You say you don't have the figures yet.
Because we give no. Please, Chamberlain, if you don't understand what I said is that we started payment from 2010. Those we have inherited who were not paid their gratuity and death benefit. So if you want an extract of those that were affected in 2017, I have to extract them because these payments are continuous every day. So I don't want to give you figures.
I understand perfectly what's going on and what you said and how Section 20 applies.
The number of people that have fake certificates and those that have other issues that are provided in public service regulation.
Everyone, the country will be hoping that the state government and Labour will be able to sit down and talk about some of these matters. I mean, that's what the narrative everywhere. So we're hoping that this will be resolved amicably such that everyone can move on. But we have to thank both of you for coming on today. Ayuba Oba, President of NOC, and Barato Mohammed, Head of Service of Kaduna State. Thank you both for talking to us. We will be back in a moment. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. Yes, indeed, we are turning our attention to security matters. But just before we introduce anybody, you've already seen him there, Ademola Abbas. He's a professor of international law and the global affairs expert. Good morning, Prof, and thank you for joining us today on the program.
Good morning. Thank you, Chamberlain, for having me.
Okay, but just before we delve into that, just a reminder that the president is in Paris at the moment. And so, remember, he left the country for that meeting. Himself and 20 other African leaders are at the moment there for a summit on African economies and finding ways to help the continent post-COVID-19. On Monday, French President Emmanuel Macron welcomed the leaders in Paris's Elysee Presidential Palace.
Well, of course, you know, other African heads of states were there, including Egypt's Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, Burkina Faso's Roch Marc Kabore, South Africa's Cyril Ramaphosa, and Chad's Prime Minister Albert Padake. All of them arrived one by one at the Presidential Palace. The summit aims to discuss ways of improving financial support to aid African economies relaunch after the COVID-19 crisis, which President Macron calls a new deal for the continent's nations.
But at the moment, there's been a press release from the presidential spokesman, Gabashew, who says that President Montbarry and his French counterpart, Emmanuel Macron, have committed the two nations to working together to fight insecurity bedeviling the Lake Chad Basin area and the entire stretch of the Sahel region. Speaking at a bilateral meeting which he hosted, the Nigerian leader on the sidelines of the Financing African Summit in Paris on Tuesday. President Macron pledged his steadfast support for Nigeria and its people as they confront the security challenges facing the country. President Macron said the French government will absolutely be there on the side of Nigeria, and it is willing to support with everything to assist the country to overcome the security threats. He also pledged to support Nigeria in confronting the challenges faced with COVID-19 vaccines. President Buhari, at this meeting, outlined the challenges all round facing the country as well as its neighbors, and spoke about the steps he has taken to reignite response to the situation, which he said included the appointment of the new service chiefs. Well, that release goes on to say that the president expressed the willingness of Nigeria to work with France and all international partners to rein in the security challenges, and thanked President Macron for agreeing to intensify the existing partnership with Nigeria. That statement is signed by Garba Shehu, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity.
Also, Prof, maybe to begin with you on that one, if you don't mind, first of all, starting with that. How far-reaching do you see this going? First, in the financing, which is the core of the issue of the meeting, as well as the security leg of the conversation.
Well, thank you very much, Ayo. That's a very important question. I think you recall that this meeting actually was planned to take place sometime last year before COVID settled in. And I think, funny enough, incidentally, I think I was still working at that point in time on the side of the government when the representative of the French government came then. It was going to be a lot larger than that. But look, there is no doubt that Nigeria today, as the rest of Africa, needs a lot of funding support from, Western countries, from major countries, from, far more developed countries, especially because of the economic crunch that are setting after COVID. And look, if you tie that to the current situation that we find ourselves in Nigeria here, you mentioned security. It is very critical. Don't let's forget that Rwanda is just going through, remembrance of what happened in 1994, the genocide. And that is where this is very important. That is that the fact that the French government now is committing to stand, by the side of Nigeria to make sure that, to support Nigeria in ensuring that we address and we are able to grapple with all our security challenges. It's very, very critical. And that is because, if you remember the report that just came out on the genocide in Rwanda, France was implicated. Not that France directly, sponsored of the genocide, not at all, but that France stood by and did nothing, literally, when that genocide was being committed. And on the other hand, even when evidence emerged from Rwanda, about what was going on, a lot of those who reported were sidelined. So I think France has learned that lessons, and let's hope that one of the lessons that France learned from that report and from its handling of Rwanda crisis in 1994 was that it will not, stand by and also allow, especially a country like Nigeria, don't forget our population in the continent, is the Africa's biggest economy at the moment, will allow a country like Nigeria to go haywire. So it is very, very critical that, Nigeria is helped in terms of looking for how to fund our project, how to be able to cope with the economic crunches that come out of COVID, but more importantly, on how to be able to, help Nigeria in terms of security. It only came out a couple of days ago that the military, for instance, the armed forces are saying that they need $2 billion every year to be able to deal with security. That might seem to be a huge amount of money, but the truth is, if we want to grapple with security challenges in Nigeria, there is no question that we have to have a kind of a military, a kind of armed forces in the country that are ready for that particular job. So it's a very timely, I think, meeting that France is convoking.
So, Prof, in addition to the consideration, the fact that we are surrounded largely by Francophone countries, what specific actions do you expect to see in light of this comment?
Well, I would be hoping, that there will be, apart from the multilateral engagement going on in France at the moment, I'm hoping that when, everything settles down, there will be specific bilateral engagement. Look, it is hortatory to say you're going to support and this and that. We hear that, we know what it means. But we've got to go beyond that and now take concrete steps. If you're talking about funding, supporting Nigeria, for instance, are you going to focus on our military? Are you going to focus on supporting us in initiatives in terms of our security challenges? Are you going to help in exchange of information, in exchange of intelligence, for instance, in terms of how the Nigerian armed forces or how Nigeria as a state should be able to grapple with terrorism, whether internal or external? And with other, upsurges, of violence within the country. So I expect that in terms of the security itself. What about training? Is France going to put more resources into training, Nigeria? Is France going to galvanize, don't forget, we're talking about a country that is a critical player here within the European Union. Is France going it alone, or also is France going to work along with other European member states, especially Germany? Don't forget again, Angela Merkel is on her way out. Whoever succeeds Angela Merkel, we hope will be able to work effectively with Emmanuel Macron in France to be able to bring the cohort of European Union to be a full force in engaging with African countries, especially with Nigeria in terms of security. So I expect, all those specific details to emerge from France to Nigeria, for them to be able to sit and work out all those in great details.
Well, speaking about weaponry, that when we did request for some of those equipments from the states, for instance, they stalled at that time, citing the Leahy law, saying Nigeria needed to comply with human rights issues such that they don't seem to be violating their law. That's the states now. But for the case of France, do you think that any such considerations will come to bear? Or, because remember, we've since placed the order anyway, and they're expecting some of those to Kano jets, and some have equally arrived, some other equipment. Do you think that there will be any such considerations, or are we just going to go ahead and request for what? Funds or supply of weaponry or intelligence? Or all of them at the same time?
Thank you very much, Chamberlain. That's a very important question. Look, countries have regulation, in terms of their procurement processes, especially when it comes to the military, equipment. And especially now when you order such equipment from a member state of a very powerful regional organization as the European Union is. So if France, for instance, is going to be able to supply Nigeria with, equipment, the first question is, what are France's obligations under the European Union Treaty in terms of supplying? You may say, look, a supranational organization does not necessarily overtake a member state in certain areas. It might very well be that, look, my ammunition that I want to supply to a country is not a business of the European Union. However, that is where the question of human rights regimes, as you already mentioned, comes into it. As an example, what are the obligations of France under the European Union, either the European Convention of Human Rights, ECHR, and some other human rights treaties, that France is a member of? What are its obligations under those vis-a-vis even member state, that is third member state? I'm not talking about France and Germany or France and Ireland or other European Union. I'm talking about when France is doing any deal, such as, for instance, on military, which, foreign countries that are not members of. In other words, such obligations, such human rights obligations will follow, France to whoever wants to do deals with. And I think that is why most countries sometimes shy away from that. It's much easier for France to say, look, I'm going to give you a loan. I'm going to give you grants to be able to purchase this and that. I'm going to give you X amount of, resources for you to be able to upscale your training and so on and so forth. As such, you can decide how you spend your money. I don't think anybody's going to be worrying about it. However, again, if you want to do aid, don't forget that the question of tying aid is very important. I think one of the Achilles heels, if I could mention that, some circumspection of most Western countries from African perspective, is that whenever we were given aid in the past, they would tie the aid to certain conditions. Most of those conditions are not even respected, to be honest, in some of their own countries. I'll give you an example. When Tony Blair sold about 6 tomahawks to Saudi Arabia in the past, and his government was accused of corruption of about £1 billion to Saudi prince. And I remember that Tony Blair made it very clear that he wouldn't be able to go into details of that transaction for national security interest. So there's a lot of opaqueness when it comes to dealing with military hardware. But here is the catch. If Western countries, especially France and so on and so forth, will be insisting brutally on their own human rights, regimes as a main criterion for not wanting to support a country like Nigeria or give it what it wants, then it opens a country like Nigeria to begin to probably look towards other directions like China, Russia, and some other countries who may have, much whittled down human rights regimes, or who do not couple their human rights regimes with the ability to do international transactions like that.
Prof, I was going to ask you a question along the line of what you just said now, because the capital of Sierra Leone is Freetown. And you know the saying, there is no free lunch in Freetown. And you've referenced that one. And France is not the only country that has offered to help Nigeria or even Africa and any of these countries that you talked about. We've had that visit from Germany, from Britain, and the rest of them like that. So the question then now is, how protected or insulated do you see a country like Nigeria being against such free lunches and the likely after effect that we may or may not see, considering the opaqueness of those agreements that you just talked about?
No, Ayo, that is a very fundamental question because it puts a country like Nigeria between the rock and a hard place. On the one hand, you want to deal with countries that, have very strict regulations. You know what you are dealing with. You know if you are conceding things to them, you know what you are going to get at the end of the day. But also, when those countries come with certain, dictates, certain conditionalities that you are not really happy with, they begin to look at the other side. Now, where do you look at? Look, take for I'm happy you mentioned Sierra Leone, and let me even extend it to Liberia. These were countries that emerged from brutal civil wars, only from around 1990 till about 1997, there about early 2000. The infrastructure of those countries were depleted. I actually served on, as a support to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in Liberia. So I witnessed it firsthand when I was in Liberia working with the TRC in Liberia. The infrastructure of those countries were completely shattered and depleted. So the last thing those countries wanted at that point in time was somebody telling them, except you can observe your human rights here and there, we're not going to give you what you need. And you have a country like China coming and say, look, well, I have my human rights, you've got yours. Yours is not my problem. I want to do trade. Can you give me 50 years or 100 years concession to your gold mine or diamond mine? For that, I'm going to give you $300 million straight away to be able to do. As a country emerging from a brutal conflict, you are naked. You are prone to being, exploited. You are vulnerable. Because that is your question. You're vulnerable because at the moment you want to feed your people. They've gone through brutal war about 7-8 years. Now, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that, countries like Nigeria should throw caution to the wind, no. But I'm saying again that we cannot allow ourselves to be unnecessarily conscripted. The question is, how then do we ensure that in going for maybe probably softer funding mechanisms, we are not opening ourselves to, a much wider, a more long-term based, affliction on our economy, which is what tide aid, for instance, used to be and still is till today. And I think that to answer that question, Nayo, that is where the role of very robust institutions within our country is important. You have Senate, for goodness sake. You have the House of Representatives. You have different mechanisms that should be able to deal, with such matters to make sure that they scrutinize every kind of deal that Nigeria wants, to get from, especially countries that you are sure when they want to get concession, from you, you may not be able to read at that point in time all the fine prints. So we need robust institutions, national institutions, democratic institutions to make sure that they check, on all this. Nigeria is not the only one in that. Myanmar is in the same shoe. Most of the, third world countries are in the same fix. But what is important is how we bear ourselves to force.
Because some think that our own case seems a little different because remember, with the death of President Derby, France seeking to ensure that they get hold of certain things along this this particular area. But I understand we need to go to break in a minute. But we'll let you respond to this when we come back in a moment. Please stay with us. All right, Prof, give us your concluding thoughts now, because, there are those who believe that France likes to get hold of what's going on in West Africa and then, throw their weight around. President Derby is gone, and then Nigeria, remember, we were seeking the U.S. to relocate Africa Command, but they said, well, thanks, but no thanks. So in the long run, have we properly thought this out such that it doesn't hurt us in the long run, you think?
Chamberlain, that's $1 billion question. I can only hope that we have properly, thought this out. But to be honest with you, if our past is anything to go by, I think one would be a little wary of giving an affirmation in terms of question that we have thought this through. But look, it's an opportunity for Nigeria. We need to engage. I understand your concern, and it's most of our concerns, to be honest, about France's role in West Africa as a whole. Because we know that France has a different policy towards its ex-colonies than, for instance, Britain has towards Africa. So if towards its own colony in Africa. So if France is now willing to expand on using this as an opportunity to inroad Nigeria further, look, personally, I don't see anything wrong in doing a deal with France or in going to them as much as we go to the UK or other countries. But what is important is for us to make sure that we get our mechanisms right, we get our house in order, and we make sure we put our best in front to make sure that at least the checkmate whatever France or any country is bringing to us. Nigeria is not Chad, so France does not have the kind of control it has on Chad or Nigeria. I don't think any country does, to be honest with you. But that does not mean that at the end of the game, in the long run, what France stands to benefit from Chad is not what France will benefit from Nigeria or UK from Nigeria if we do not play our card very well. I think that is where the crux is. That's why I spoke earlier on about the role of our institutions like the National Parliament, like the Senate, like the House of Representatives, and whatever other government institutions that are tasked with looking after, the welfare of the country.
All right, then, Ademola Abbas, Professor of International Law and Global Affairs expert, thank you very much indeed for your perspective this morning.
My pleasure, thank you.
Well, we have a few messages. I don't know which one of them you will be seeing on your screen, but Oshino Kingsley has this one, I think, in line of in the light of the conversation we're having. But before that one, let's take this one from Dr. Ekwemosa, who says about the state of the polity. Meeting with France and other European countries is an important step in Nigeria's diplomatic engagement. There is need to extend this to other stakeholder countries.
Okay. Lucky, is that the, oh, that's from Henry. Okay, well, you might as well take this because
that's actually from I don't know who that one is for, but it says that given the historical context of Kaduna, okay, that's actually from Henry. Given the historical context of Kaduna and civil disturbances, let everyone prevail on Governor El-Rufai to rethink his actions. The reality of today in Nigeria is antithetical to stringent reforms that will impoverish the people.
Well, William says, I'd like to understand this, please. How can the head of civil service of Kaduna say the disengagement of civil servants is because of the huge financial burden on the state, yet she claims they are recruiting more people? Oh, okay. Okay.
Well, Yomi Williams is saying no state in Nigeria is immune to the happening in Kaduna State. Almost all the states are battling with the unbearable payroll cost, inefficient workforce, but for political and socio-economic reasons, the sad reality persists.
This one also, this one that I wanted to take the other time, Markwa will probably take the last one, is from Oshino Kingsley, who says, in as much as Nigeria's security challenges required external help, we should be very careful where we seek help. Nothing goes for free. We need to show political will in confronting our challenges. We have shown capacity in peace maintenance in other countries.
Yeah, but in addition to that, what overall interest does Nigeria will seek to protect, and how are we going to leverage on that? So many, it's actually a very important point that he raised there.
Markwe?
And Ochi has this one to say, he says, while El trying to achieve, the way he's going about it makes it all look like there's more to it than what his government is doing. That's what we'll have to leave the comments you've sent in to us this morning. We're grateful for them all. Thank you for being a part of our program, for watching and sending in your contributions. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
Please keep safe and have a wonderful day. I'm Ayo Makinde.
I'm Train Belunuso. Have a great one.